Hi guys! Power pack brushes, everyone says, how'd you do them? It's not for the faint-hearted, but it's not that bad, honestly. We'll start with tools, not that many. Two 13mm spanners, a 17mm spanner, 1/4" socket set. You need a 13, an 11, and an 8mm, some extensions, small flat screwdriver, and a good quality Phillips. And a bit of something, a packer, that's about 30mm, bit of wood, bit of anything, side of an hammer, something like that. You'll see why in a minute. Right, need a bit of room for this job, so in order to do that, we've got to get this grey part here, your power pack, that's the electric motor, we've got to get that out. So in order to do that, we need a bit of room. So, easiest way is loosen this bolt a couple of turns, remove this one completely, and we're going to do the same on the other side. So again, on this side, I'm going to take that completely out. On this one, just going to loosen it and just wind it 2 or 3 turns out, make sure it stays in. Get back around. Right, the reason we've done that, get your little packer dealie, and you need some muscle on you, but you can lift that up, jam that in there, and that'll give us just enough room to see what we're doing and get access to that. So at this point, disconnect your key from under the engine bay because we're messing with the battery power. So undo that key under the engine bay. Use this little bad boy to take that out. Take your positive terminal off, or your negative, or both. So it's battery terminal off, so there should be no live battery cables to give us any surprises. And we've got to disconnect all the wires off the power pack. So if you ever change to solenoid, it's pretty much like doing that. So there's going to be 2 or 3 big cables on each of these big connections. So the live ones are all going to be red, so all the red ones will go together on your solenoid. And there's going to be 3 black ones, which are the earth wires for the motor. Another tip here is, I don't know if you can see down here, down where I got that first spanner, but when you're messing about with these ones on the motor, always get a spanner on the bottom of the nut, on the bottom nut, when you turn it, because if you turn that bottom nut there, it spins all the cables inside and you can short circuit things. So essentially disconnect all the wires off it, so there's nothing connected at all. That's all the big stuff, and then we've just got the 2 little ones for your solenoid. There we go, that's all our wiring free. Right, next horrible bit of a job where you need long arms. There's going to be 2 17mm bolts mounting this to its little rail down there. So your 17mm spanner. It's awkward, it's fiddly, you can't see what you're doing, but have a feel. And there's one 17mm. You have to take these all the way out. And there's a second one a bit further along. This is going to be more tricky on your 4x4 trucks because they're going to be higher and the machine's going to be lower, but it is doable. So now we've got this whole unit can wobble about. It's not going to go very far because the hoses are still connected and there's not enough room for it to move too far. So next bit of the operation is you can move this about now so you can see things and get to things. So there's 2 little Phillips screws in the end cap. remove them. Make sure you've got a good, nice new screwdriver. You don't want to be rounding these things off. Okay. And then I need to get this end cap off. Sometimes it's a bit sticky, so might be an idea to get a big flat screwdriver and just put it on the edge of it and give it a tap, but it will come. So that's loose, and we can get that out. That will normally be full of crap, so just give it a good bang on the floor, wipe it out, get all the muck out of here, because that's where all the debris from your worn out brushes lands up. So fortunately this one's pretty clean. Next job, we're going to want our little 11mm in the socket. So 2 bolts in the end here. I need to remove these completely. These go right the way through the motor into that aluminium casing in front of you. So we're here, and with a bit of perseverance, this one's nice and loose because of I've just done a bit of rehearsal, but yours might be a bit sticky, so you might have to give it a tap and just to free it off. But you should at this stage be able to get that sort of turn. And at this point, I don't know if you can see, but that there is where one of the brushes lives. So if you want to do a bit of a gypsy job, you can change the brushes at this point. It's simply a matter of undoing that screw with Phillips again, because you can rotate this all the way around and you can get to all 4 of them. So at this point you could take this screw out. Sorry if the light's not great. There's a little washer on it as well, so make sure you don't lose that. So, if you get your small flat screwdriver, so you've got your little tail off your brush here. Can you see that down there, Daniel?
Yep.
Right, there's a little spring which holds the brush in place and keeps it in contact. So if you lift that little spring up, you can actually take your old brush out. At this point, if that's nice and free in that guide, you could just put your new one in. Make sure that spring's got it nicely in the middle, and just line that wire up again. Right, if you've got a good magnetic screwdriver, you get your screw on there. If you're nice and careful, guide it through that hole in that brush and just gently start it. Do not cross these threads. If it feels awkward, try again, because it should just go in really nice. And that's one brush changed there, and if you just repeated that 4 times, you would have fitted a new set of brushes. And at that point, stick it all back together again. But the better way of doing it is to remove this motor completely. So what we're going to do is, there's a bit of a knack here because this whole assembly is just held in by a bearing at this front end. So if you don't want to just pull this motor, I'll show you why in a bit. What you want to be able to do is just wiggle it if you can, side to side, up and down, until you can feel something moving. And again, don't just pull it, wiggle it, wiggle it, wiggle it, wiggle it. And in theory, nearly there. There we go. And that will just about come out now. So that's that bearing that was holding it in. So what you don't want to do is pull this complete assembly out of the motor, because it just makes things a bit more tricky in situ. So this is where we go to the bench. So, changing all your brushes. You can, at this point, undo all these screws. Fiddly little stuff. Grab out this little tail, there's a little springy, lift that up, and they'll just come out. When they're worn out, they'll be a lot shorter than this. But there's one. Just make sure you don't lose these little wires as well. It's a bit of a fiddle, but get your little screwdriver underneath that spring. Just prise that back, and out she comes. Again, I've done this a million times, so it's dead easy for me, but there's a bit of a knack to it. And then number 4. In an ideal world, if you've got a workshop, once you've taken all these out, this normally does just pull out, but as long as one can, it's going to play about. You get a tiny tap on the bottom of that shaft. This here is your commutator. And in the bottom of this hole, there's a little springy washer that wants to sit in the bottom there. Just to show you that. So what I do now in the workshop is I get this, and I'll blow it out with the airline, because it's going to be full of dust as a rule. Doing that just because I can. About the compressor. Right. So hopefully it'll be looking nice and clean in this sort of state. So what we need to do, drop your little washer back in the bottom there. Drop this back in. Just give that a bit of a push so it's down, and you can see when it's all the way in at the back here. And it's supposed to have a bit of spring on it with that springy washer. And then you're just going to put your new brushes in. So I'm going to reuse the old ones. Just a tip, when you get your new brushes, you very, very often could just do with, make sure you squeeze these wires inwards, because if you don't, that rubber insulation can catch on the sides of this slot where they live and make them sort of stick before the time. So if you squeeze them all the way in, squeeze that in. So you just got to get your little small screwdriver underneath your spring, pull it right back, drop your new brush in that slot. If there's any stickiness resistance on this slot, clean out these holes with something, a little file, sandpaper. You gently clean them out, and then make sure your spring's nice in the middle, and just bend it over, just so the screws go around. And you should drop in nicely like that. The next one, make sure you squeeze these little sides in. Put your springy boy back. It's nice and pretty. And then just bend that wire over. all the while, you want to make sure the bit in the middle that spins stays in the middle, so don't go tipping it up too much as you work. The next one. You can see how they work, and then you've got little springy boy, presses them down, and that's how they wear out. So, in contact with that brass bit in the middle, copper bit in the middle. Make sure you get a little wire too. Ever so gentle as you start, just so you don't cross the threads, because you don't want any problems right now. And the final one. The wire's trying to escape. Slip the screw. And your wire over into shape. Really gentle as you start them. And then give them all a final double check. Right. That's your brush that's changed. Right, so we've got to stick this back together now. You'll notice this shaft's got a slot in it, so the easiest thing to do is line that slot up. Pretty much 12 o'clock as you solenoid there. So we know that's in line, and that's because you have to correspond it with the within the part back here. You see it's got this little dog here. It does move about, so and you will be able to turn that. So make sure that's sitting at 12 o'clock as best as you can. So we need to stick the two bits together and try and get them shafts lined up. So when you handle this motor now, keep it like this as best you can. So we know that there shaft's about 12 o'clock, and that's about 12 o'clock down there. You have to ease it through this gap again. Just try not to be too rough with it, because we are going to have to lean it forward slightly to match up with that. Offer it in here and get it really close. 12 o'clock, and you will have to fight a little bit here. But normally if you wiggle it up and down a bit as you go, that's dropped in there nicely. As you can see, that grey bit there is virtually all the way to the aluminium casing. Then we need our two long bolts. At this point, then it's just a matter of finding a threaded hole at the end of here, which can be a bit tricky. Nope. There's a threaded hole in here somewhere. That one started. They either find their way straight in, or you'll have to fight a little bit. So do these up with your fingers as tight as you can, and don't be afraid to manhandle it a bit to make life easier. And then get your first one, just get it, just do it a bit at a time until they start to get somewhere near tight. You just want it to go together nicely and squarely. So they're both about there, so now we nip them up. So that's that. Next is your end cap. Get that back in there. And the screws are about 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock on there. Put these in. Never tend to tighten anything up until I've got all the screws in, because if you tighten it up, you can tighten it up a little bit on the squiff and it won't let you get your next one in, so you do leave yourself a bit of wiggle room. So they don't need to be really tight, these don't. There we go. And then it's a matter of getting this line back up as best as you can where the moles are going to be. Hopefully there'll be a bit of a ghosty shadowy marker where it's sat before, so I've got to get these two 17 mils in the bottom there again, which is a fiddle. And wherever I left them, oh here's one. So 17 mil. Fine if you have one hand on the pack so you can wiggle it about and you can feel the hole if you're pressing that bolt upwards from the bottom. Get one in. And your second one is a bit further along. Just feel for the hole at the bottom. Give it a wiggle about side to side and it should find its way in. Do that with your fingers as much as you can. And just tighten them up with your 17 spanner. Alright, so your power pack's back in with your new brushes. It should simply be a matter of sticking all your wires back on, removing your backer, putting all your bolts back in your frame, and running it up, but I'll just show you that. So, normally easiest to get the wire for your solenoid, whether that doesn't be it. There she is. Sometimes you'll have ring terminals on these, so you have to take them bolts all the way out. But stick the empty back on. You should have 3 reds in here, 3 blacks. There's one. There's another one. Where's number 3 there? And that one there has completely disappeared because that had the battery cable on it. Down the back of there. And that's your last bit one. Just like changing a solenoid job now, this is. More for these. All your blocks on the left terminal motor. So there should be another one down here somewhere. Number 3. Where's number 3? Spring the washer. said about holding that nut at the bottom underneath these cables when you tighten these up. Yeah. Just check all your wires are tight. And now, and again, never tighten anything up till you've got all of these bolts here. So put that one in loose. We're going to put the one in around the other side. Once you've got all 4 of these started on the threads, the other 2 aren't a problem. Tighten all them back up again. And in theory, we put the battery terminal back on now. We should be in business. This doesn't work now. Are doing that first bit, everybody. Then you tighten up your 2 little bolts on your frame there, and you're good to go. Simples.